Okay, hello and welcome everyone. My name is Sibylla Grady and I'm the Elevate Program Manager here at the Australian Academy of Technological Sciences and Engineering. I'm delighted to see so many of you joining today to learn more about our wonderful Elevate Boosting Women in STEM program. Joining me today I have Dr. Alison Every, Director of STEM Careers, Emily O'Neill, Elevate Program Coordinator, and Georgie Oven, Elevate Program Administrator. We also have joining us today Mel, who is providing the excellent captions that you will be able to see if you click the link in the chat. We also have Graham and Janair, who will be interpreting today's session. Thank you very much to all three of you for your assistance today and helping make this session accessible. The structure of today's session will be a 40-minute overview of the program aims, the support the Elevate program provides, and the logistics of the application process, followed by a Q&A session. During the Q&A, we'll answer as many questions as we can, but please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A throughout the webinar. The chat will be used for links and comments, but not for questions. We will be recording today's session if you did want to visit following the event. And I'm just getting a notification at the moment that captions aren't currently working, but we're working on fixing that for you. So I'll now hand over to Dr. Alison Every, the Director of STEM Careers Strategy, to begin today's presentation.
Thanks, Sibylla, and thank you everyone for joining us. As we gather here today, we do so in a spirit of reflection and respect for the traditional owners across all the lands on which we are meeting today. This week is NAIDOC Week, a week dedicated to recognising and honouring the history, culture and achievements of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. NAIDOC Week invites all Australians to come together to learn about, appreciate and embrace the rich cultural tapestry of the oldest continuous living culture on Earth. This year's theme, Keep the Fire Burning, Black, Loud and Proud, reminds us of the strength, resilience and enduring spirit of our First Nations people. It is a call to action for all of us to listen deeply, engage respectfully, centre Indigenous voices and amplify them, celebrate their stories and walk beside the traditional owners of this unceded land in the journey towards reconciliation. We acknowledge the deep history of innovation embodied by traditional knowledge and recognise Indigenous Australians as the holders of the first science knowledge of Australia. In this spirit, we at ATSI are coming to you from beautiful Ngunnawal country today, and we'll take this moment to acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and pay our respects to elders past and present. We recognise the continuing connection to land and waters and that sovereignty has never been ceded. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Thank you. Okay, so I'll just start by providing a short overview of ATSI and why we have been chosen to deliver the Elevate program. So ATSI is a learned academy of independent experts helping Australians understand and use technology to solve complex problems. ATSI brings together more than 900 fellows, and our fellows are Australia's leading experts in applied science, technology and engineering. And they contribute to robust and practical thinking into Australia's big debates through advocacy and government. So up here on the screen are our strategic goals, very much driven by our fellows. And you can see front and centre, fostering diversity in the next generation is vitally important to our fellows and to ATSI more broadly. And this is where our STEM careers initiatives contribute greatly, including the Elevate program. So ATSI was selected from a range of organisations as the sole implementation partner of Elevate, since we operate across industry, academia, education and government. And we just demonstrated a strong collaborative approach to co-designing this program in consultation with the sector. So this is also demonstrated through our diverse partners, which include partners from industry, academia and government. And we've really enjoyed working with all our partners, especially the Department of Industry, Science and Resources, which funds this important work. So the fellows also set the policy priorities. And again, you can see that front and centre, exciting and educating young people in STEM is of vital importance to the work that we do. And this is helping prepare Australia's workforce for the future and ensuring that there are the necessary STEM skills, digital skills, etc., to ensure that we can adapt and be resilient in this ever-changing STEM environment and just environment more broadly. But here at the Academy, we also have a really strong focus on diversity and inclusion, and that very much includes a gender equity focus. As part of our work in this space, we have developed a diversity and inclusion toolkit for genuine diversity and inclusion. And STEM-focused small and medium enterprises can use this toolkit to embed diversity and inclusion into their key activities of recruitment, retention, and promotion. So I'm very pleased to hand back to Sibylla to tell you more about the Elevate program. Thanks, Sibylla.
Thank you, Alison. So the Elevate program aims to address gender inequities in STEM. We do that by fostering more women and non-binary led industry academia collaborations in applied research and business, growing professional skills of women in STEM, and by propelling women and non-binary people into leadership positions. Elevate has been designed around the 4 strategic goals that you can see on your screen. Our scholars lead and influence and make change, and people from historically underrepresented groups in STEM engage with STEM career pathways. Elevate scholars have strong networks within the STEM ecosystem, and we demonstrate best practice in long-term STEM equity program delivery. So we couldn't bring Elevate to life without our partners, and the Elevate Boosting Women in STEM program was established with a foundational investment by the Australian Government Department of Industry, Science and Resources as part of the Australian Government's 7-year $41.2 million commitment to boosting the next generation of women in STEM fund. A network of partner organisations from across industry and academia support program delivery, and you can see all our great partners on the slide right now. So the program is quite exceptional in that it provides wraparound supports. That's the foundation for the experience of our scholars. There are 4 key components of the program for their studies. These include, of course, the scholarship to assist with the costs associated with studying and living, ongoing support during university studies. All our scholars have access to 24-hour wellbeing services, which offer counselling, mental health and wellbeing resources, as well as personal safety features. We also offer mentoring and networking. Our scholars have access to networking events with partners and ATSE networks, including fellows, and we facilitate peer and professional mentoring to foster networks within the scholar cohort and with industry. Finally, we provide our scholars with access to skills building workshops that will help them develop skills such as effective communication, project management and leadership. The Elevate program is also creating a community of like-minded women and non-binary people who are in a similar position, studying at university, and who are there to support each other, to celebrate the wins and learn from the challenges together. Today, we're really lucky to have one of our current scholars to talk about their experience in the Elevate program. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Sarah, who is an Elevate postgraduate scholar studying a Doctor of Philosophy at the University of New South Wales. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sibylla. Thanks for your the introduction and nice talk. And so I'm Sarah Yazdanparas. Actually, I'm doing PhD in civil and environmental engineering at University of New South Wales. So thanks for this opportunity to give the reflection on my journey so far through Elevate. I'm grateful for the opportunity, support, and connection that the Elevate has provided. It has been a very supportive and safe environment that has allowed me to grow both academically and personally. So if I want to share some aspects, some favorite aspect, part of the program, so in my view, all the events that Elevate has conducted so far have been relevant and interesting. Each event offers a chance to connect with professionals in the field and learn something new. For me, Elevate has had a huge impact, to be honest, on my academic journey and personal growth, as well as broadening my cultural understanding and perspective. Also, all scholars have the opportunity to access resources, attend seminar, and participate in social events that might otherwise be financially challenging or impossible. Normally these things might be too expensive for me, to be honest, and it's a great chance to learn more and build up my skill for my future career. So another things that I really want to share with you is about the how I felt support during the program and during my study. To be honest, Elevate Scholarship was really important in the progression of my study this year for several reasons. I have felt immensely supported, both academically and personally. Elevate team have been always available, have been always approachable and genuinely invested in scholar success. Regular checking, feedback session, and the availability of resources like counseling have made a significant difference. And also, for example, if I struggle with a particularly challenging task, there is no need to stress about being alone. Elevate offers essential resource for a scholar to get help and support when needed, which is invaluable. And I'm so grateful to have access to these resources. This level of support has boosted my confidence and kept me motivated. So in addition, Elevate represents more than just financial assistance. It serves as a recognition of a scholar dedication and achievement in their career and academic journey. So all of this helped me to boost my motivation and commitment to excelling in my study. So another thing that I really want to share is about how I had a connection with other scholars and how is this network working. Absolutely, it is very important and a favorite part, connecting with other scholars in Elevate, which is so important. I made friendship and connection with fellow scholars during Elevate social event and networking session. I formed meaningful friendship and professional relationship that I know will last beyond the program. So, for example, the peer mentorship initiative is one of the highlights where senior students guide and support new scholars. Thanks for Elevate, we have a vibrant and supportive network facilitating connection with peers who share similar interests. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity, support, and connection that the Elevate has provided through ATSI. So it has been a very supportive and safe environment. I can be myself. I can study, in a free and safe environment. So, and I'm really looking forward to contribute this journey, to continue this journey and contributing to this incredible community. If you are considering joining, I can assure you that you will find a supportive and enriching environment that will help you achieve your goal. And thanks again for this opportunity to share my experience so far. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and experience, Sarah. It's really great to hear from an actual scholar, kind of some of those program supports and what potential applicants could gain out of the program. Now we'll go into some of the program logistics, so some of the eligibility requirements behind the program. So there are three main eligibility criteria all applicants need to meet. So the first one is you need to identify as a woman or non-binary person. So while the term non-binary is irregularly used to include all people who don't identify as a man or woman. We do acknowledge that this term may not describe your own gender identity, and so there is a space in the application form for you to nominate your own a different term to this. The second is you need to be enrolling as a domestic student at an Australian university. So this usually means that you're an Australian citizen or permanent resident, but this can vary across universities, where some might consider humanitarian visas for a domestic student. So we go based off the university you're applying for. So check with your university to see if you're considered a domestic student or not. International students are not eligible for an Elevate scholarship. And lastly, you need to be planning to commence a STEM degree for the postgraduate category, or a higher studies to improve business acumen for the leadership category, commencing next year in 2025. So STEM degrees are considered those administered by STEM faculty, such as science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So students planning to undertake degrees administered by non-STEM faculties, such as Faculty of Arts, are not eligible to apply. That is, except for the leadership category, which we will explain more about later. So there are three categories of scholarships available. So we've got undergraduate scholarships for those commencing bachelor degrees or an undergraduate honours year as a new enrolment. And then today's session will focus on our postgraduate and leadership category. So postgraduate research are our postgraduate by research degrees in a STEM faculty, and then leadership, we've got two streams. One where you're a STEM professional wishing to pursue a higher degree to improve business acumen, such as a Master's of Business Administration, or you're going into a STEM Master's by coursework in an industry priority area of national importance. So I'll go into a bit more detail of what is eligible for the postgraduate research category. Degrees eligible for this category include PhD, Masters of Philosophy, or Masters by Research. Ineligible are degrees with less than 75% research components, such as a Masters by coursework. However, these degrees are eligible for the leadership category. So you're still eligible to apply, just not in the postgraduate category. We do have priority areas that are for this category. So students who research whose research has an industry collaboration or it links with industry are well regarded. And then we've got priority fields of advanced manufacturing, agriculture, digital futures, energy resources and renewables, health technology, minerals and mining equipment, technology and services, and water resources. Our leadership category, there are two streams. We recommend more than 5 years post-graduation for this category. However, if you're not 5 years post-graduation, you're still eligible to apply. So there's two streams. First is that postgraduate STEM coursework studies. So those are degrees that are administered by a STEM faculty, but are coursework. Ineligible are degrees that are administered by a non-STEM faculty, or degrees that specify you for or qualify you for a specific occupation. So things like nursing, medicine, speech pathology, etc., unfortunately are not eligible. We do have priority areas for this category. So those are set by the National Reconstruction Fund. You can find more about those in the program guidelines, but these include These include renewables and low emissions technology, medical science, transport, value-add in agriculture, forestry and fisheries sector, value-add in resources, defence capability, and enabling capabilities. Consultation also identified additional priority areas such as natural science, agriculture, environmental science, climate sustainability and adaptation, geology and etymology, and engineering. The second stream for the leadership category is postgraduate business studies. So to be eligible for this category, you need to have a prior STEM qualification. This can be at an undergraduate or postgraduate level, but that is required to apply for this category. And then the degree you're going to be studying, so the degree you apply for through this category can be a degree to improve business acumen. So this can include degrees administered by business, commerce, economics, or law faculties of university, such as Master of Business in Business Administration. This can be quite broad what you choose to study in this section, so it can be things that improve your knowledge and skills of business, including business planning, operations, finance, and strategy. And that it might improve your understanding of risks and opportunities, improving efficiency at your job, or solving complex problems. So next is called scholarship payments. So there are scholarship amounts for each category. So we've got highlighted there the leadership and postgraduate research categories. So scholars will receive a pre-study payment in advance of the commencement of their first semester, after all documentation and proof of enrollment has been received by the Elevate team. So this payment is sort of designed to help with the costs of starting a new course, and can be used to help with things like relocation or however you best like to use that amount. Following the pre-study payment, we administer quarterly payments that are attached to reporting, so in the form of a survey, and this forms part of our welfare and scholar support. So and then scholars are able to study part-time, in which case your quarterly payments are halved and your scholarship duration is doubled, so you still receive the same amount over the program as you would if you studied full-time. Payments are paid out at the maximum duration of the scholarship or the maximum duration of the degree, whichever is shortest. Scholars can use payments in a way that best suits them and then not required to report what they spend their payments on. So payments may help with cost of living, study-related resources, and travel-related expenses, to name a few. Elevate scholars may hold more than one scholarship. However, it is the responsibility of the scholar to ensure that holding their second scholarship won't make them ineligible, holding a second scholarship won't impact or contradict their eligibility for a second scholarship. So we recommend, if you are holding a second scholarship, to contact your university and ensure that you can hold both scholarships. The research training program, RTP scholarships. So we know that this has been a little bit challenging. However, we're unable to vary the amount of the postgraduate research category amount to work with RTP. So just something to keep in mind when you're applying. Some universities do provide a top-up scholarship for Elevate rather than the full amount of RTP. And then we're particularly keen to also support postgraduate research students who have not been able to or may not be able to secure RTP. Move on to application logistics now. So we don't conduct any interviews, so it is application only. The application has four long response questions and some contact details and identity questions. So you're invited to apply online via the online portal, which is on the screen there. It's also, you can also navigate it from our website. There are options to there are options for alternative ways to apply as well. So ATSE is committed to providing inclusive and equitable access to all potential applicants. So if for any reason you are unable to submit a written response to the questions in the application form, we will also accept alternative modes of submission. So this could be potentially a video, or you might complete your application on a Word document if you're having trouble kind of with a web-based form, but you still must convey the responses in the question as per the application form, as our assessors will still need to assess it against the three key selection criteria. If you are considering these alternative forms of applications, please get in contact with the Elevate team to kind of discuss what's still required to score the application. So you can do this by email or by calling us. Applications must be submitted by 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Friday, the 30th of August. So that's Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra time. The portal does save as you go through the application, and you're able to revisit anytime through your login. So we recommend starting nice and early, as you can revisit it at any time until you've submitted it. Assessment is in September and October, and offers will be made in early November. The assessment of applications all eligible applications will be assessed by our expert selection committee, which is composed of representatives from industry, academia, and government, with a diverse range of experiences. And for those who are selected, they are also inclusive leaders and support the objectives of the Elevate program. And then applications, if you're commencing study in 2026 instead of 2025, applications for the 2026 cohort will open in mid-2025. I'll now hand back over to Sibylla to talk more about the application process.
Thanks so much, Emily. So we'll start with a little chat about the application questions. Before you begin, please do read the Elevate program guidelines and FAQs. There's also a section provided on information for applicants when you first register in the portal. When applying for the program, you'll first need to undergo an eligibility checker, where you'll answer some questions regarding the 3 criteria that we have already outlined. Provided you pass the eligibility check, you'll then be invited to complete the application form. You can review the application form before you progress if you wish to. On the right-hand side of most questions in the application is an ability for you to seek further elaboration and guide to what we're looking for from each question. The application portal will save for you as you go through, so I recommend you starting now and working through it over the next 6 weeks. You'll also be asked to provide some contact information. Please note that these details will not be passed on to our assessors. And you'll be asked to list up to 3 degree preferences. Please ensure that these are eligible degrees for the category you're applying for, and you're only able to submit 1 application. So if you start multiple, applicants who submit multiple will only have 1 go through to the assessment panel. So for the long response questions, when answering the questions, please provide as much detail as possible and try to use specific examples. There are word limits specified next to each question. The long response questions are limited to 250 to 300 words, and we ask that you please do not use your name in the long response questions. So you'll start with your personal story, and that really helps us to understand who you are and why you're a suitable candidate for the Elevate program. You can tell us about your passion for STEM subjects and curiosity to explore the world. We may choose to tell us about the challenges or barriers that you've encountered that have impacted your aspirations to study a STEM degree or pursue a STEM career. What have you done to overcome these challenges? What are your achievements and what makes you feel most proud of yourself? The section is flexible and you're welcome to share as much or as little info as you would like, up to 350 words. We'll then give you an opportunity to talk about how the Elevate Scholarship will benefit you, what goals you have, and how the Elevate Scholarship would support you to achieve them. How will the Elevate Scholarship bring benefits at the personal, academic, and/or professional level beyond the financial benefit? We also ask why you're interested in your chosen course of study. So please answer from both the personal and/or professional perspective. Where do you see yourself personally and professionally by the time you graduate, and how will a STEM degree in the chosen course of study help you to grow and achieve this personal and professional aspiration? For postgraduates only, think about how your course of study contributes to industry. What different links do your studies have with different parts of industry? And for our leadership applicants, how do you see yourself influencing and leading in the STEM sector after completing your degree? What changes would you like to see in the sector, and how will you contribute? For the identity question, applicants will be given the option as to how they identify. All applicants will be considered for scholarships, even if they don't identify with or choose not to disclose. However, as identified through consultation with the sector, diversity will be highly regarded in the selection process. So we've also produced some application recommendations from our 2023 successful applicants. So please do have a look at the link that Georgie's popped in the chat. It summarises the commonalities from successful applications in 2023. And just another reminder to review the guidelines thoroughly. So some examples of what's worked for our applicants in the past include recognition and explanation of the benefits that accessing inclusive networks has, such as with other scholars and connections outside the program as well. A description of how the applicant's identity and/or being a member of an underrepresented group has impacted their access to opportunities where applicable. And for postgraduate research, description of how the applicant's proposed research has potential for commercialisation, translation, or already has industry input, collaborations of lab and/or supervisor with industry. For leadership category, a desire to support other women and underrepresented groups to build their aspirations and achieve success in STEM study and careers has been a marker of success. Please be aware that individual feedback on applications won't be provided. A similar recommendations document will, however, be produced following the close of this application process. So here we have some frequently asked questions. Do you need to already have links to industry to apply for the postgraduate research scholarship? The answer is no. If you don't currently have links between your research and industry, you can provide details about potential partners or pathways to industry collaboration. Am I able to study part-time? Yes, we absolutely support scholars to study part-time. In this case, quarterly payments are paid at 50% over double the duration of your scholarship. Are graduate certificates and diplomas eligible for the leadership category? Yes, however, assessors may preference 2-year degrees over shorter degrees. So I'm just going to hand over to Emily, who's going to give us a bit of an overview of what's happening next.
Hi everyone. Yes, so time for Q&A time. So if you have any questions, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom webinar. Please feel free to answer your questions there, and we'll either answer them between Sibylla or I, or sometimes Georgie will type a text-based answer to your question. If someone's already asked your question too, I think there's an option to upvote it as well. So now get Sibylla over for Q&A.
Thanks, Emily. Okay, so the first question I have here is, I am interested in studying a Master of Information Technology through the leadership program. However, I'm not sure if information technology falls under one of the industry priority pillars. So the industry priority pillars are listed in our guidelines. I don't believe information technology is explicitly listed there, but there could be avenues within that field that may be applicable and relevant depending on what you choose to undertake. So yeah, I might just see if my colleagues have anything to add to that.
The only thing I would add to that, yeah, definitely check out the guidelines and the National Reconstruction Fund priorities, even if it's not explicitly in the, yeah, as Sibylla said, ways that might connect to those industry priority areas will be good to include in your application.
Thanks, Emily. And just to add again, I'm fairly new to the program, so I've done some looking up of those priorities, and I looked up what enabling priority meant. That refers to engineering and data science. So presumably, if you're doing something in IT that is within those fields, then that may be something that our assessors will consider. So the next question I have here is, coming from a STEM background and now looking to undertake higher studies to improve business acumen, as an experienced STEM professional juggling full-time work with parenting, make the part-time learning as the only option. What is the appetite to entertain part-time studies in my application? My area of interest and experience is climate change and sustainability. Being a program that is intent on being as inclusive as possible, we are absolutely happy to support people who need to work part-time. The next question I have is, if I get an offer for the university applied but decided to change universities, is it flexible to move to a different university while keeping this scholarship for postgraduate study? Yes, provided that your course isn't drastically changing and it's no longer in a relevant field. That is up to you which university. Hi there, I already have a master's degree in business, but I'm looking to do a master's degree in STEM. Am I eligible for it, or do I have to enroll in a doctorate degree? I think in terms of doing the master degree as a leadership, we do require that 5-year experience. So if you've done the business course and an undergraduate in a non-STEM field and you've gone out and had 5 years experience and you now want to build on that with a STEM qualification, then you could apply for our leadership category. So the next one is, am I eligible to apply for a leadership degree if I will be starting a Masters by Research next year? Emily, would you like to answer that one?
So you'll be eligible to apply for the program, but not under the leadership category. So if you're studying a Master by Research in STEM, you should apply under the postgraduate research category. So there's slightly different questions in that.
Thank you. If the Masters of Research offered by my university is 1-year coursework and 1-year research, doing this degree would not make me eligible for the Master's scholarship because it's only 50% research. Alison, would you like to take that one?
Thanks, Sibylla. I'm just trying to remind myself of the research coursework ratio, and I think Emily may have more up-to-date information than me. So I'm going to throw straight to my colleague, Emily. Thanks, Emily.
No problem at all. So to be eligible for the postgraduate research category, it needs to be 75% research. So you're still eligible to apply. You would just apply under the leadership scholarship. So yeah, so under the category of going for a STEM coursework by STEM Masters by coursework category. So still eligible to apply, just under the leadership category.
Thanks, Emily. So the next one I can see is, with the leadership scholarship, does it have to be an MBA or can it be another master's focusing on leadership and STEM? Yep, so it's not only restricted to MBAs, it's really building your business acumen. Emily mentioned law as another option. So just have a good read of the guidelines, and anything that's going to provide you with the skills that you need to go out and be a STEM leader, we encourage you to apply. Does the leadership scholarship need to be done within 2 years? You can go part-time, and graduate diplomas and certificates can be, I think as we saw in the FAQ there, you might do it a different qualification, and we would just pay you according to the length of your qualification. I don't know if I articulated that properly. Emily, would you like to step in and help me?
Yeah, so 2 years is the maximum duration at a full-time rate. So if you undertook in the leadership category, if you undertook a degree longer than that 2 years, then at a full-time rate, you wouldn't be paid past that. But if you move to part-time, that can be extended out to 4 years at a part-time rate. That makes sense. Or you get paid to the maximum duration of your degree, like Sibylla mentioned. So if you're only undertaking a 1-year degree full-time, you would just be paid up to 1 year.
Thank you, Emily. I unfortunately had some interference and did not catch the part about there being 2 postgraduate streams. I plan to study a Master of Data Science if awarded with a scholarship. The course has a research component. What stream would this be? Emily, I feel like this is your bailiwick as well.
It sounds like, without knowing much about the degree itself, that would be in the leadership category, even though it does have that research component, because masters by research degrees are usually mostly research, but it would probably depend on your degree more specifically. I might need a bit more information, but feel free to email us if you think it should actually be in the postgraduate research category. But still eligible to apply, and yeah.
Thank you so much. Are there further restrictions with the scholarship when it comes to work outside of the degree, or how much you can earn from concurrent awards, or is this just up to the university and degree? We at ATSI do not put any restrictions on our scholars on how they manage their scholarship. We are aware that there is some variability in the way that universities apply the ability for scholars to hold simultaneous scholarships. So that is something that you'd have to discuss with your university. And yeah, we also don't give financial advice. So when you're thinking about taxes, etc., that's something that you'd need to look into independently. The next question I have is, can I ask roughly how many students can get this award for each category? It really depends on the mix of what we are receiving. So we won't share that information right now, but thank you. It is a highly competitive process. We get a lot of really great applications. So again, just really following those tips on what makes our applicants successful, sharing your story and how you're going to contribute to the STEM sector more broadly would be great. The next one I have is, how many places are allocated for leadership scholarship for a master's by coursework? So that's a similar question to the previous one. Will the scholarship be eligible for Commonwealth support place subject? Yes, I believe so. Is that right, Emily? Yep. Emily's nodding for me. Thank you. Yep. Can you include links, e.g. the project description, a personal LinkedIn profile in the long responses? That is a very good question, and I'm going to throw that to Emily.
So the application is designed to just have those 3 long response questions that go to assessors. So if you do want to provide anything extra, we can't guarantee that will necessarily go to assessors. The assessors just mark you based on those responses. So technically, yes, you can put in links, but I can't guarantee that the assessors will view them. So if there's something you want to demonstrate that's on your LinkedIn profile or a project, I'd recommend actually just describing it in that kind of personal story or experience space, just to make sure the assessors actually get that information.
Thank you, Emily. The next one is, how can we prove the links to industry? do you need a letter from industry to support the application? No, we don't request a letter from industry. If you have those links, please share what they are through your long answer question. If you don't have industry links, please consider how your work will have commercial value, etc. In your long answer questions. The next one is, can the chosen degree for the leadership category include both business degrees and master by coursework? That sounds like a question for you again, Emily.
Yes, there could be accommodation. So yeah, there's a space for 3 degree preferences. So I just recommend putting the first degree preference as the one you're most likely to do. And also keep in mind, if they're quite different, you might want to cater your application to kind of one kind of path within the leadership scholarship category. So in that case, it might actually be better to just go one of those, but it really is up to you. There is that space to do a business degree or a master by coursework. But if you've chosen the masters by coursework stream at the top of your application and you've popped a business degree in there, just make sure you list your STEM qualification just so that you're eligible for that stream if you do go the business qualification route.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Emily. And my colleague Alison has just alerted me to a question that I may have skipped over, and I'm going to throw to Alison to answer it.
Sure. I think there might have just been a question about whether there's a specific ratio designated for the leadership scholarships in terms of business versus STEM. There is no kind of preconceived split. We don't anticipate, there's no kind of directive to have a 50-50 split in each of the 2 categories. Each application is judged on a case-by-case basis, and the assessors will determine whether that application is worthy of receiving a scholarship. So just to clarify that. Thanks, Sibylla.
No, thank you. And sorry, I skipped over it before. The next question I have is, PhD topics often have potential to change as they become refined. Does Elevate keep track of these changes? Alison has a PhD, so I'm nominating her to answer that question.
Thanks, Sibylla. And yes, I know only too well that these things do evolve throughout the course of a PhD, and provided it still remains eligible in terms of being a STEM degree, we totally understand that these things may be adjusted throughout your studies. We would love to hear how it's evolving anyway, so please share those stories as you progress through your degree, because it's really good for us. We just enjoy really hearing what everyone's doing. But yep, certainly that's understood to be something that happens quite regularly.
Thank you, Alison. Will the scholarship payments continue if a leave of absence is ever undertaken? If you determine to take a leave of absence from your qualification, you would let us know and your payments would stop during that leave of absence. Obviously, we want to support you as best we can, so we try to keep in touch with our scholars and understand what's happening. But yes, we don't continue to pay. It's designed to support you while you study. Hi everyone, I have a bachelor degree in audio engineering. However, I'd like to explore a different path in engineering or science. I am eligible to apply for a master's, or do I have to redo undergraduate? I don't think we're expecting you to do another undergraduate, but I am going to pass to Emily, who's very across all the nuances of these things.
Yeah, so really depends, I think, on your circumstance. I don't think we'd make a suggestion of what degree you should undertake. We don't give that kind of advice. But if you want to do engineering or sciences at a postgraduate or undergraduate level, there's 2 scholarship categories available for you to apply for based on what you choose between those 2. So best person to contact might be the university you're thinking of applying for to see what the better option for you is.
Thanks, Emily. Do we have to choose which university we want to study at before nominating degree preference for Elevate? What happens if this changes after receiving? So we ask for your 3 courses, and those need to be aligned with the eligibility criteria. But if you change universities or you get accepted to a different university, provided the course isn't deviating from those which are acceptable, then that's fine. Is there a certain amount of scholarships that are available to each category, or is this on the merit of individual applications that a certain amount of scholarships may be given? Alison, can I pass that one to you, please?
Sure. So over the course of the entire program, we have 500 scholarships and even a little bit more. So we're always bringing in and very keen to have co-investment from industry partners. So that's part of the reason why we can't give you an exact number, but certainly we take into consideration the quality of applications, and where possible, we try each year to look at where the sector needs are, but also where the needs are in terms of what students are hoping to do in terms of their study. So I'm sorry I can't provide a more exact response to that. But yeah, over the life of the program, 500 plus scholarships, and hoping to grow that as much as possible.
Thank you so much. Is it possible to receive both the RTP stipend and the Elevate postgraduate category at the same time if the money is put towards non-living expenses such as travel to conferences or superannuation? We are aware that some universities allow this, but we're also aware that there's some inconsistency in how the policy of whether a student can hold both Elevate and RTP is applied across different universities. So we'd encourage you to contact the universities of your choice. And I've also got Alison who may want to add something to that.
Thanks, Sibylla. We recognise this is a slightly tricky area to navigate, and whoever that questioner was has identified quite rightly that if the scholarship is less than a certain percentage, or there's ways of dedicating a certain amount of the scholarship to travel or other kind of non-living expenses, there are ways to do it. But Sibylla is completely right that this does sort of, the advice that students will receive from their universities will change from time to time. But in theory, it is possible, and we are keen to support scholars with finding the best outcome for them, and it's something we're continuing to work on just to get a bit more clarification and to make it easier and a bit more clear in terms of what the possibilities are in holding both RTP and Elevate Scholarship.
Thanks so much, Alison. So I think I've got another question here to clarify. We're not allowed to hold the RTP scholarship and Elevate. I think that we've just answered that one. Are remote courses eligible for this scholarship? Yes, we would certainly encourage people who may be studying remotely, but part of the beauty of Elevate is the connection. So we are quite keen to where we can put students together and hopefully facilitate some ability for face-to-face engagement and networking. But certainly if you are restricted, as we understand many people might be by various circumstances and wish to study remotely, that should not be a barrier to you applying for the Elevate Scholarship. How is the stipend calculated for each degree and scholarship? Is it based purely on course fees? I am going to pass that one to Alison.
Thanks, Sibylla. So all of our scholarships have a specific amount that individuals will receive annually, so broken down into quarterly payments. So that will not be adjusted according to your course fees. And in fact, a lot of people will be using their scholarship for something other than their tuition fees, for paying the rent, paying for groceries, etc. So it is a fixed amount, unless you're studying part-time, and then it's paid at 50%. but we will not be, we're unable to vary the scholarship based on sort of different amounts that people are paying for various courses.
Alison. In terms of barriers to pursuing academic studies, are certain barriers weighted more or less heavily? For example, if mental health or personal situation has created barriers. We're not assigning value to barriers per se. It's really just a holistic assessment of your circumstances, your commitment and passion to STEM education, and recognizing that sometimes the challenges and adversities that people experience in accessing opportunities to develop those skills and passions can be more significant than others. But no, we're not specifically weighting barriers. So thanks for that question. I don't have a STEM degree or leadership, but I have over 5 years of work experience in technology. I have found leadership courses that major in STEM. Should I make sure that the 3 courses I put forward have a mix of STEM and leadership? Emily, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, so technology could be a tricky one with STEM qualifications. If you do feel that you have that experience as a STEM professional and you're looking at those leadership courses, definitely let us know. There is a box to put kind of your past experiences. So if you can give as much detail as possible for the assessors to kind of base whether you're eligible for that kind of business path. If you go down the STEM route, STEM Masters by coursework route, you'll definitely be eligible. It's more for that business side. So just giving as much information as possible to the assessors.
Thanks so much. I have done my engineering degree 10 years ago. I had to step out because parenting needs. Since then, I've been working as a data analyst part-time. Can I still apply for leadership with Master of Engineering? I believe that you could certainly apply for the leadership category with 5 years experience and an undergraduate degree in engineering. We would encourage you to apply. The next question is, if I withdraw midterm, do I need to return the scholarship I received? We structure the scholarship and all the support systems to with great hopes that you won't need to withdraw midterm, but we don't ask for repayments. You just would not receive any further payments once you've withdrawn. I believe that's the case. Yep, Alison's nodding. Would you like to add anything, Alison? Oh, good, thank you. If a leave of absence is necessary due to pregnancy, is it possible to resume the scholarship? If so, how long are we allowed to have off? Certainly, we understand that people need to pause and life happens, but I'm not aware that we have I'm not aware of the length of period of absence, so I'm going to hand that to Alison.
Thanks, Sibylla. We have across the board for our scholarships, there is the ability to pause, take a leave of absence for 6 months. Should an individual want to extend that beyond 6 months, we'll consider that on a case-by-case basis. And I can imagine having a young baby would be one of those examples where we'd be quite supportive of an extension to that 6 months. But 6 months is something that is baked in to the scholarship, that as a possibility if someone needs to take a leave of absence.
Thank you so much, Alison. And it's my first year in the program, so I'm learning so much today too. I'm not sure I heard correctly. Can you please elaborate on the reference to 5 years work experience as relates to the leadership scholarship? I'm going to pass that one over to Alison.
So thanks, Sibylla. The leadership scholarship, we're keen to support people who've been working in STEM for a while, who are wanting to build their leadership skills and access some of those senior executive positions or board level positions. So 5 years is the guidance we provide as a minimum to apply for that leadership scholarship. If you are under the 5 years, we won't give you a hard no that you're not able to apply for the leadership scholarship, but just it's to provide some guidance of the type of person that will probably be most likely to be successful in that category. So 5 years is the guidance, but we won't dismiss your application. And as Sibylla has mentioned before, we're looking at the holistic case and the picture that you provide, that you share with us in your application. So we would never kind of give you advice not to apply, but it's just worth keeping that in mind, that you will be likely competing against people who have that 5 years plus experience.
Thanks, Alison. What flexibility is there in the scholarship program for things such as medical leave from studying? So again, I think that the advice Alison provided stands here. If you need to take a leave of absence, that would be up to 6 months. And if those circumstances were extenuating beyond that, then you would share with us and we would assess that on a case-by-case basis. In describing links to industry, would it be problematic to name companies and associations if it would then reveal the identity of the applicant? That's a very good question, and I am going to pass that one to Alison as well.
Sure, thank you. Great question. So you are very welcome to name organisations or companies that you intend to be working with, and in many cases that will sort of add weight to your application. Our assessors have to identify any conflicts of interest. So if it is quite obvious who you are from your application and naming some of those collaborators, and that person has that connection with the organisation, they may choose to recuse themselves from reviewing your application. So we do have ways of managing that, but it certainly is not something that will get in the way of your application progressing, and in fact could be beneficial because it's demonstrating those really solid links to industry from the get-go.
Thanks, Alison. If I've started but not completed a PhD 10 years ago, will it impact my application if I'm planning on starting a new PhD at a different university, new course being commenced, not continuation? No, we all have a history, and we change and we grow and we evolve, and that will not impact your application at all. With the leadership scholarship, does the MBA or other course need to be in line with priority areas? Emily, I'm going to throw that one to you.
So the MBA, if you're going down the doing a degree such as an MBA through business acumen, then that won't have to align with industry priority areas, as it's assessed in a different way. It's more if you undertake that STEM masters by coursework that you need to be in line with those industry priority areas.
Thanks, Emily. Is the masters by coursework for the same industry area you did your bachelor in eligible? No, I don't believe it would be. Emily's adjusting her headphones, but I'm going to check with Emily.
Okay. So I think I understand the question. So your master's by coursework doesn't have to be the same as your bachelor's degree. That's not a requirement at all. So if you've done a bachelor's in a different area, that's completely fine. That's more for the university to decide if you're still eligible for that master's, but the master's just has to be an eligible STEM discipline.
Thank you. We've got another one on masters by coursework. Applicants who demonstrate leadership capability will be prioritized in this category. Is that correct? Sorry, I might throw that to Alison, actually. Thank you.
Thanks, Sibylla. So because it is the leadership category, it will certainly be reviewed favourably if you can demonstrate some leadership potential or leadership aspirations as part of your application into that category. I think that's the short answer to that.
It's a great short answer, and thank you. I didn't quite understand. For the leadership work experience, how can we demonstrate undergraduate STEM work experience? I'm going to throw to one of my colleagues, whoever jumps in first.
I can jump in there. So in the application form, when you choose one of those two streams, pursuing a master's by coursework or a degree to improve business acumen, there'll be a space underneath to provide some of your prior experience. So undergraduate STEM work experience, I assume that might be like doing a short internship or a research project. You can definitely include that in that kind of free text box of some of your prior experiences. Yes.
Thanks, Emily. Should the 5 years work experience be continuous or accumulated? For example, 3 years between bachelor and PhD plus 3.5 years after PhD. We're not sort of counting the exact number. It's more about how prepared you feel as someone who's got STEM skills and experience in the field to build on that to really kind of elevate yourself as a leader. So yeah, that would be fine if it's cumulative, but yeah, it's really an assessment of your ability to lead and readiness to study leadership. If I have a STEM undergraduate degree with no direct STEM work experience, but extensive other administrative focused work experience, could I still apply, or would you suggest only STEM work experience counts? I'm going to hand that one to Alison.
I'm going to jump in because Alison,
sorry,
computer is not working. So if you're applying for the STEM Masters by coursework, you don't need any STEM work experience. However, if you are going for that kind of MBA business acumen route, it's kind of designed for people who have STEM work experience. It wouldn't necessarily exclude you from that category, but it is something to keep in mind.
Thank you, Emily. And I now have Alison next to me, and we're both kind of disembodied heads on the screen now. Now I'm going to go to, does my university need to know about Elevate when I'm applying for the studying? I don't think that needs to happen. I'm going to hand that to Emily.
So if you've got another scholarship besides Elevate, we definitely recommend letting the university know in advance. Sorry, just getting some feedback. So we definitely recommend contacting your university and letting them know. If you are successful in a scholarship, we will actually notify your university on your behalf. So they will find out eventually, but there's no need for you to tell them that you're applying. So I've got another question here. My master's and bachelor were not in STEM. Will this exclude me if I wish to apply for the STEM PhD? No. So if you're applying for a PhD in STEM, no, we don't have a requirement for you to have a master's or bachelor in STEM. That's more your university to decide. So we're more interested in the course you're applying for in that respect. If it's a STEM degree, yeah, it's up to your university if they've got a problem with that, but no, that would be completely fine.
Thank you so much, Emily. And that brings us to the end of our questions. So thank you all so much for coming and for all your excellent questions and engagement today. I've certainly learned a lot. If any of you leave the session and read the guidelines and FAQs and you still have any burning questions for us, please send us an email via elevate@atsi.org.au. Links to further information and resources have been put in the chat for reference, and we'll also be sending out those via email with the recording after this session. So please do continue to review the FAQs as we continually update those based on these sessions and the questions we receive via email. We're really looking forward to receiving your applications. Thank you to our wonderful interpreters and captioners, Jenny, Graham and Mel. Thanks, everyone.